So this is the behavior modification final presentation for Laura Dixon. Just a little bit about me. I am a bivocational youth pastor. I pastor at a church in Kernersville, North Carolina, grades 6 through 10. I'm bivocational, so that means I have a full-time job, and I work from home for an energy company. And before that, I had a career in law enforcement, so I still work part-time as a 911 operator. This is my third year at Carolina for my bachelor's in biblical studies with a concentration in ministry. And I am a mom. And I feel like the about me was important to the presentation because you can tell that just because of the busy life that I have and the nature of my job, usually when I'm working at 911, those are third shift hours. So I was always drinking coffee, always needed caffeine, um, worked a lot of hours, did a lot of school, and loved to wind down on the weekend with a glass of wine. So a lot of choices. As we get into the next slide, you'll see that my project was about drinking more water. But so a lot of choices with my lifestyle that just were unhealthy. So the title of my project is to drink more water. These pictures that you see here on this slide are actually social media posts that I had made throughout the course of this class. And on the left, when we first started, you can see me sitting down at my desk in the morning to have my morning coffee. And that was an everyday thing for me. And some of those posts even say first coffee of the day because there was more than one. So as I realized, as I evaluated my project, I realized that I was not modifying my behavior, and you'll see that data later on. So I started doing some things that worked for me, and I'll talk more about that. And you can see my glass of water there with my meal, and that became a regular everyday habit for me. So here you'll see kind of this like circle flow chart, I guess is what we'll call it, where my behavior was to drink more water. That was the behavior that I wanted to modify. So I set a goal for myself. I researched what a healthy amount of a woman my age, my size, was of water to drink per day, and that was 4.4 pints. So that was the goal I set for myself, that I wanted to maintain a healthy amount of water intake. And we're going from zero water intake. So that was a very aggressive goal in hindsight, but that was the goal that I set for myself. I used a record keeping app on my phone, a phone app, and you can see that pictured there off to the right. I set up a profile. You can see my little picture there in the top left corner. And every day, not only could I log my meals, which was just a plus, but I could log how much water I was drinking. And it was so simple, very user friendly. I just tapped on the water glass and it filled it with water. And then at the end of the day, I was able to just really see very easily how much water I had had for the day. I recorded that data for, I want to say 44 days, and placed all of that data into a bar graph that you will see later. So these are my original ABCs. These are the ABCs of my old behavior. So my antecedent was that I wanted something to drink, right? I wanted flavor. I wanted caffeine. I'm a Pepsi lover, and you can't beat a crisp, cold Diet Pepsi. There's nothing in the world that beats it. So I wanted that. I wanted to be able to sit down at my desk or at my 911 console or grab a coffee on the way to church to work for the day, whatever it was. I wanted that flavor. And the behavior that I was exhibiting was that I was not drinking water, right? So the consequence of that was that I was getting things to drink that did have good flavor instead, but I was not drinking water. My new ABCs, of course, my antecedents stayed the same. I still want all of those drinks, right? I still want those coffees, those cappuccinos, those Diet Pepsis, right? But the new behavior is that I choose to drink water instead of those other drinks. And the consequence of that new behavior is that I feel more hydrated, I'm healthier, I feel healthier. I don't know if I am healthier, but I just have also more control over what it is that I'm putting in my body. Um, I don't even know what all goes into the cappuccinos that I would make here at home with the whipped foam and the cinnamon and the syrup. They're so good, but just all kinds of stuff that is just not good for me. And we know scientifically what it tells us, how great water is for our bodies. So some of my tactics, substitutions, right? Developing a new behavior to suppress the old behavior. So I had to develop a behavior in which it was easy for me to make the choice to drink water. Um, Avoidance removed the possibility of unpleasant consequence. And to me, those two tactics kind of go hand in hand, right? I had to make substitutions in my life. And one of those was, instead of having a coffee cup at my desk, I chose to have like a cold temperature thermos where I could put ice in it in the beginning of the day and it stayed ice cold all day. So every morning when I would get up, instead of brewing that cup of coffee, I would put ice in my thermos and keep it there at my desk. But I had to do that. I had to develop new behaviors instead of just trying to suppress the old, and instead of just saying, okay, I'm just not going to drink coffee. I just had to be more conscious of my behavior, and that made it easy for me to obtain my goal. It also removed that possibility of unpleasant consequences, that I wasn't drinking water and I wasn't going to be healthy and I wasn't going to see all those benefits. So this is just a brief snapshot of my data. I'm sure it's hard for me to see the X and Y axis here in the video, so I hope that you can see it. This is over the course of 44 days. My baseline data is there in the red, and the rest of my data is there in the blue. And you can very easily see, just from briefly looking at this bar graph, that the first 20 days of this behavior modification was not successful. I was all over the place. It was very hit and miss until I really applied the tactics that I just talked about, and I was able to see consistency in the behavior modification. And I would also attribute that to more accurate record keeping, because that is very important. And I was, if we're being honest, very hit or miss with it in the beginning. I thought I could just remember and go at the end of the day and fill in my app, or maybe even the next day. And that's just not, it didn't work. So I kind of just touched on the evaluation of my plan, where I pointed out that you can see the first 20 days I was not doing anything that was making a change in the behavior. It was just kind of all over the place. There were even days I didn't drink water at all, and you can see that reflected in the graph. So the adjustments that I had to make were, like I talked about, I had to be very conscious of the behavior choices that I was doing, the things that were facilitating the bad behavior, and make replacements to that, like having the cold thermos at my desk and things like that. So I definitely saw in the data reflected every week as I turned in my homework that I was not making changes that I wanted to make. And so I had to adjust the plan that I had. So as I come to the end of my presentation here, I posted this picture because I thought it was funny. It says, keep calm and drink more water. As I reflect back on the project, I would say that I was able to modify the behavior. I do feel like it was a success. I became very consistent at drinking water every day at my desk while I was at work. I still had other drinks throughout the day, and on the weekends, you can clearly see that I drink way more non-water drinks than I did water. But I do feel like now it's almost an effortless thing that I fill up my thermos in the morning and I sit down at my desk with a cold drink, and I'm able to drink that water throughout the workday. So I feel like the course was successful in that, and this project was very successful in me modifying my behavior. So thank you so much for your time.